Let's get physical. We're talking about physical media today. Is it disappearing forever or is it making a comeback? Then we get to our case, which has to do with competitive Wordle. When things get real heated between two Wordle players, what do? I'll give you 6 guesses. Stay tuned for our verdicts. What you are listening to is real. The parties involved are not cool. They are actual geeks with a case pending in the court of public opinion. The party's case has been dismissed, and the dispute will be settled here on our podcast. There will be no lawyers. There will be no witness testimony. The judge's decisions are final.
Hello, I'm Judge Ivan.
I'm Judge Jonathan, and this is Geeks on Trial. Today's case, them's fightin' Wordles.
Welcome to Geeks on Trial. This is the podcast where we settle petty disputes between actual geeks over movies, board games, video games, and more. If you'd like to submit your own geeky case for a future episode, you can email us at geeksontrial@gmail.com. You can also support the show over at patreon.com/geeksontrial for just a few bucks a month, and you'll gain early access to both our audio and our video episodes before they are released to the general public.
Wow, what a fantastic deal.
Just a great deal.
We've got things brewing for the Patreon, but stay tuned. Stay tuned another week or two, and we'll let you know exactly what's going on there.
It's not
exciting,
ready yet. It hasn't come up to temperature yet. It still needs to go into the cauldron, right?
We're steeping it.
Is that where you brew? Oh, like a tea.
Yeah, well, I said it's brewing.
Like a beer?
You went cauldron, I went tea. It's up to you. It depends on what kind of liquid you prefer.
Could be a cold brew coffee. Let's discuss what you brew. So,
Trouble.
Mm.
Trouble's a brewing, folks. Trouble's a brewing. Now, what about a Blu-Ray?
That's what we call a segue in the industry, folks.
Yeah, that is what we call it in the industry, whatever industry it is we're in. So we have talked on this show before about physical media. Now, we've made it clear both of us are physical media people, which is not, we're kind of a dying breed.
I have a Blu-ray sitting right here.
Sure. You've always got one handy.
It's always handy.
I've got a physical copy of this guy. Do you know this guy?
Oh God, you got that Burger King meal?
Are you kidding me? You've insulted him. This is Uptown Mo. This is my McNugget buddy.
For folks at home, Jonathan is holding up a McNugget buddy to the camera.
Yeah, and that's physical media. It's not an NFT.
Media. No, well,
this is the physical equivalent of an NFT.
That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
I'm so sorry for sullying our show with the McNugget buddy. No, we're talking about physical media, Blu-rays specifically, in movies, and I think it's been generally understood by people that for the past several years, the sales and popularity of Blu-rays and DVDs has been steadily declining.
Yeah.
But there's this story I saw the other day in Variety that the Oppenheimer 4K Blu-ray, which just recently came out, sold out completely of its run. At least it did this might be specific to Best Buy. Best Buy also had a Steelbook collector's edition, which I believe also sold out and is like, if you're trying to find it, it's going for real high prices on eBay and such.
Ooh.
And this has been kind of a shock because this rarely ever, even in the time when Blu-rays and DVDs were more popular, very rare for a Blu-ray to really sell out in its initial run. So there's some talk maybe that there's been kind of a resurgence, that Blu-rays are seeing a comeback, that maybe they're going to be more popular again, or this is some kind of a fluke with Oppenheimer. I don't know. What do you think about this? What do you think of? Is there something specific about Oppenheimer that you think caused that? There must be, right? Like, what is it? Why is it Oppenheimer and not Barbie, for instance, or some other big summer movie?
It's interesting to me. And as you were talking, I was thinking about Oppenheimer is one of the few movies that had a very big analog year. And I guess Blu-rays are technically digital, but whatever. It's a physical media. But it came out, the original release of the movie was out on 70 millimeter film, and that brought a lot of attention and a lot of people. And now it's selling out in disc form, which is kind of odd to me. But I understand that physical media is making potentially or hopefully a resurgence because where a movie that was filmed in 70 millimeter IMAX, the best of the best cameras, one of the best directors, you don't want to trust streaming platforms to give you a crappy version of this movie. You want to actually see it in 4K. You want to, have it in your home in the best version possible. And that would be still either a digital download that you keep on your hard drive or a physical disc, like a Blu-ray or a 4K Blu-ray.
Yeah, I don't even know if necessarily the digital download is always going to be as good as the physical Blu-ray either, unless it's, I don't know, if you download a 4K movie, because a real 4K movie is like what, usually like 60 plus gigabytes or something. Right,
because that's why it's a separate laser and you need a separate player for it, because it's different from an actual Blu-ray versus a DVD and all that. So it's like, it might be like a triple layer thing. So it is a bigger file.
So I got to imagine that even if you buy this directly and download it, it's compressed to some extent.
Right. So
I could be wrong. Honestly, I've never done that before. I've only bought 4K
even
media.
when I do what do they call it? The ultraviolet downloads or whatever that you get the code. It's usually like, oh, this is 1 gig. This is not going to be great copy.
Right. Right.
And I guess, it is, this movie is a specialty movie in my eye. It's a niche movie because you have the science people, the history people, and then on the film aspect, you have the film nerds who are like, oh, I need to see this in 70 millimeter. And now they also need to buy it on 4K Blu-ray. But I actually like that this is selling out and they need to figure out how they're going to restock the shelves, because it's funny that you're saying this could have been at Best Buy, where Best Buy recently just announced that they are no longer carrying physical media. And I'm sure they're biting themselves for doing that right now.
I wonder, that's supposed to take effect sometime early next year, I think. Mm-hmm. I wonder, but maybe that's part of it. Maybe part of this is people being like, now that they heard about this, certainly I think for the Steelbook, because, Best Buy would always do these special Steelbook covers, which they are cool. I get why people like them.
Let me ask you a question about Steelbook, because for me, I like all of my Blu-ray
I would never
discs.
do it unless someone wasn't looking. 5-finger discount, baby.
Well, what if you bring it into the bathroom? Does that still count as a Steelbook? It's a reference from a show that's long gone. Ask your parents. It's a Seinfeld reference.
Okay. Oh, that show.
That show. So for me, I'm not a fan of Steelbooks or when they do the book copies of Blu-rays, because I like all my discs to match.
I get it.
I like the the regular Blu-ray case.
Yeah.
So do you care?
I'm okay with it.
Because I know with some stuff, the weird Simpsons DVDs where the head.
That's a pain in the ass because it doesn't. The shape is different. It doesn't fit anywhere.
Well, the Blue Book is not Blue Book. The
it's still flat. It's still sits in a shell.
Yeah.
The Simpsons head literally had 3-dimensional nose sticking out,
eyes and face. Yeah. So this is it's cool that it's coming back, but it's you're right. Why didn't Barbie? Did Barbie even come out on disc?
Oh yeah, no, it definitely did. 100% did. Movies, I think any big movie is still coming out on disc these days. But I think what you said is correct, that I think part of it is the reputation of the film, is that it's people. I think it's now associated in people's heads with very high quality visuals and audio that they want to experience as best they can. Whereas I think something like Barbie or the Mario Brothers movie, which are both giant movies this year, people are kind of okay with, I'll just watch that on Netflix whenever it hits it. They don't it's not as important to them. It's not part of that's part of Oppenheimer's identity.
Right.
You know?
But that's also why I'm surprised it didn't come out right to a Criterion collection.
Well,
or
they
one
never,
of these.
Because it's Warner Brothers, or no, sorry, it's not Warner Brothers anymore. It's whoever, because Christopher Nolan left them because they didn't do what he wanted. I can't remember who did Oppenheimer. Fox? I don't know who did. I don't know. But they're not gonna. No one's giving Criterion the rights to something unless they don't think they can make money on it themselves. Right. Usually, that's so. This isn't like a boutique kind of a movie, but it does seem like that. I think myself and many others, and even in this article, they posit that physical media will probably become something akin to vinyl the way vinyl is now, where it's going to have a big market, but it's going to become more specialized and more like a Criterion sort of line where these things are treated more like a special thing and not just, oh yeah, there's a bargain bin at Walmart full of crap.
Right, $5. So I looked it up. It came out via it's Universal Studios.
Universal, that's what it is.
So I still like Universal seems to me is like they're still hanging on to like old film stuff because they don't have. Do they have a streaming service?
Not themselves directly, I don't think.
No, but they're on others. So it's like they're not aiming to be like, oh, we need to have our movies on our platform or you're not getting it. You know, like they're still, I feel like one of the old school, I guess Universal is NBC, so they might be Peacock. But
they have a studios.
It's true. They have a studios. But yeah, I'm excited because I'm happy, like you're saying with the albums and stuff like that. Like maybe this is going to be something that might come back, and especially with more people cutting the cord and realizing that, like, you know, a lot of these streaming companies aren't keeping movies forever. And if you want this movie, it's better to go out and buy it, which I definitely do. Like if it's a movie that's like I love or it's like my top 10 movies, I want those on a disc so I can have them potentially forever or until like the disc melts or whatever.
Yeah, until the apocalypse comes and there's no electricity at all for you to play it. Yeah, I think that's definitely a big part of it. Is people are getting sick of these streaming services. They keep raising the prices, and they're like, you know what? I'll just buy this movie, be
and
done
own
with
it, and have the special features that come with it. Which is another major thing. Like a lot of these, most of them don't have special features anymore.
On disc?
No, streaming.
Oh, right. They hardly ever did that, did they? Like
maybe
never.
Like back in the day when they were trying to get people over to them. And I also noticed too that like a lot of studios or a lot of streaming services don't do 4K. It's very like a lot of them. They are still like Amazon. I think it was like very few movies are 4K. A lot of them are like, here's your 1080.
Well, HBO Max, whichever name it is, just up to you have to pay more now to get 4K. They made it another plan. Which Netflix does 4K, which I think is also a higher.
Yeah,
plan.
That's the premium or whatever, which I used to have, and I'm like, I don't need to. Like, it's because you're never going to get 4K streaming unless you're like next door or living inside Netflix.
Right. But I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think it's going to make a comeback in the sense that it's going to be as popular as it was like at the height of DVD releases. But I don't know, with the way that the crazy things happen in the entertainment industry now with strikes and maybe there's a lack of things to see in theaters. Maybe there's streaming services are getting more annoying to use. They could be more relevant to society and culture than we're thinking of them now. I don't know.
And do you ever see yourself not buying a physical media as long as it's available?
I will certain movies. I've certainly slowed down.
Right. Because like we don't need to buy TV shows anymore on physical media. That's something I've definitely stopped doing because like I don't need the commentary for 400 episodes of something all the time or,
I buy the things that I really love.
Right.
That's what I buy. Yeah. What I really love though?
What do you really love?
Wordle.
Oh.
And I really love today's case.
Do you pay for Wordle? Do you have a Wordle Plus subscription?
We'll get into that in a minute.
All right.
But I think I should set the stage first. There's a structure.
I'm new here.
All right. Today's case comes to us from the internet. You can find a link in our episode description. Our defendant today is Pauline. One day, Pauline is chatting with her boyfriend's mom, Betty. Betty asks if Pauline would like to partake in the New York Times daily word puzzles with her, as it could be a fun bonding activity. They begin, and Pauline starts completing those puzzles at a much faster rate than Betty, first with connections, then the mini crossword, and finally, the big one, Wordle, for which she only needs 3 guesses while Betty takes the full 6. Oof, bad look, Betty. In response to this, Betty loses her cool and accuses Pauline of somehow cheating or having played these earlier in the day so she knew all the answers already. Pauline's boyfriend thinks that she should have realized that his mom was getting upset and pulled back instead of showing off how smart she is with the Wordle games. And now Pauline's in the doghouse with both of the family members. As dual judges here on Geeks on Trial, it's now our job to determine whether Pauline was too mean or if Betty got too upsetty.
Oh, see, you should have made those all 5-letter words.
They were the way I spelled them. An extra N at the end of mean and only one T in upsetty.
Oh, perfect.
And also I left out the E.
Oh, on everything. Do you still play Wordle?
Wordle. This is the craze that swept the nation during the pandemic quarantine era.
Is that when it came out, roughly? Well, I guess it got popular, but
it might have been a little before that, but yeah, it was not much. I think it was pretty new at the time, and that's when it became a sensation.
That's when it was private.
Because nobody had shit to do. We were all stuck indoors, and we were like, something I can say words with my fingers. Give me stimulation.
A lot of us too were also looking for like things to like build our brains a little bit more than just like Bejeweled.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
we're like we need to spell some things.
In between talking to Tom Nook and watching Tiger King. That's what we had Wordle.
Now, let me tell you, the first time I started seeing, because I was on Facebook and the social medias a lot, when I started seeing, like, what are these green squares just popping up? And there was like, people weren't really saying like what the game was. It was like, here are my words. This is how I did. And I'm like, the hell is this shit?
Those green squares, man, they crop up. They mean something. They matter to people.
Then I had to Google what is green squares.
I've done that too many times. I'm embarrassed to admit. I don't regularly do the Wordle anymore. I did for a while. In fact, at the peak of it, there of course were all these copycats. There's first there's like the Wordle where you're doing 4 Wordles at the same time. And there's ones for different amounts of letters, or there's ones. I had a Lord of the Rings Wordle where every word was a word that appeared in the Lord of the Rings books.
Oh, that's fun.
I had there was a Taylor Swift Wordle where they were like lyrics or names of albums or whatever. There was there's a thousand. Then there's like there was a math Wordle where it was an equation.
No.
I did all of them. I did all of these. I used to have like a rotation at midnight would hit and I'd be like, go through my 6 Wordles.
Well, also there wasn't like, when it first came out too, there wasn't like an official app or like a proper website for the phone.
Right.
So it's like, I think I had the off-brand for the phone Wordle. It was the same thing.
And now it's New York Times owned. And they, to their credit, I guess it hasn't really change. Like, I think you can still play it for free, or you need a New York Times account now, but I think that's no, you can still play it for free.
Yeah, because I don't have an account with them.
I think you need an account maybe to save your stats or something.
Which I don't really, I don't know. I think it's like you get an ad, which is like, fine. It's a New York Times ad. It's like, buy our newspaper. Like, no, thank you.
Yeah, no big deal.
Or it's like,
or it's like what?
Or they ask you to play their other games as well, which usually I do.
So we can talk about, I know, we do the Frameds. Do you which you could talk about. Do you do any other kind of Wordly things ever, or just that?
I do Wordle every night.
Every night you still do Wordle?
Well, okay, like maybe 4 times a week.
Frequently.
Because usually like I have a few open tabs on my phone where it's the Frames and then Wordles next to it. And I think that's it, because like we were saying, there was a bunch of like different 24-hour style games. There's a Weird Al one where you could hear the lyrics or a song thing, and then you had to match that. There's one for TV shows. There's one, there was a bunch of other ones that like I was doing them all at one point, and then it's like, okay, I'm just going to stop. Or just like life happened and I'm like, oh, I could leave the house now and go do stuff.
I guess we didn't, anyone listening who doesn't know what Wordle is, we didn't really explain it, but all of them are basically some kind of guessing game where you get a certain number of tries and they'll usually give you a hint or something about whatever it is. I really think we don't need to explain it.
Akin to Scrabble, kind of.
Sure. Or I think Mastermind is the game that people compare it to.
Or Boggle.
Yeah, it's sort of like Wordle is,
it's like
is boggly.
Yeah.
A little bit, kind of. But Framed is the big one that we do, which is a movie. They show you screenshots from a movie, and you have to try to guess what movie it is.
In 6 frames or less?
6 frames, yeah. That's the only one that I still do. I still won't always do that every day, or I'll go through periods of doing it every day and then stop for a while.
Right.
But that one is just enough in my wheelhouse and doesn't feel strenuous to my dumb brain.
And it also like it makes me think more about movies, and movies are things. Movies are like some things that I like. And it's like, oh, I didn't see this movie, I'll add it to my list. Where it's like Wordle, it's like, oh no, I'm just an idiot. Because there'll be times where it's like I won't play for a couple of days because like, oh, I didn't know the word steak. You know, like, or something stupid like that. Where it's
vampire
like,
or meat.
So it's like, you get down to the last one. It's like, how did I not guess it was this? Because this simple word. But like, I overthink things with these types of games. I'm like, oh, it's never going to be like, whatever word, an easy word.
It's also like Wordle feels to me like, all right, I lucked into the letters, or I figured it out, or I didn't. Framed, I feel like, oh, I feel good if I get it, because it's like my movie knowledge matters.
Right, because like you actually have to have a knowledge for this word. It's like, you're right, because it could just be a random word, and there's less structure to it. Where Framed, there's like, there's an X amount of movies they've done. Sometimes there's a theme.
And usually it's
visually
like
appealing.
The clues get a little easier each time, so there's sort of it's more curated in that way, I guess. Right. My favorite thing with Framed is when I guess a movie, and it's a movie I've never seen before, and I'm like, why do I know that?
Yeah.
3 guesses in, I'm like, oh yeah, it's that movie I've never seen, but I also like, I impress myself things in my brain.
When it's like, I guess it on the first frame, and it's like a lit match in a dark room. It's like, how did I get, like, why?
That's good.
Why did I get that?
That's a good feeling.
Yeah,
that's better. Because if you guess the first guess on Wordle, you just guessed. Like, that's it. If you get the first guess on Framed, you know that movie, and that's impressive.
Now, let me ask you, do you have a word that you always start with?
No, I don't play that way. I just go for whatever I'm feeling in my gut.
I mentioned my word before, and I guessed it once, and it was like the first word, so I always go with it. It's steak. STEAK.
See, you're never gonna get it the first try if you use the same word every time. That's why you gotta go wild card sometimes, I think.
But that word has like a good mix of like the letters that can round out certain things. It has like the what are the Jeopardy letters? Like the RSTLNE or whatever that crap.
Wrong show, but yes.
Oh, was there a Wordle TV
Your categories
are
lingo. If there wasn't, there was one, and there will be, and there I don't know.
I know there was a board game, right?
Yes, or a
rip-off of it or
game.
something. Yeah.
The thing with Wordle is there's only so many 5-letter words in the English language.
Right.
So at some point, I think they've already reached the point where they just restart it. So I don't know how to feel about that.
Now, with any of these games, like Framed, Wordle, any of the other ones, do you ever feel
Beatles? Dole, I think I did a Beatles one.
The need to be competitive?
Great question. That is a part of it, right? A big part of not necessarily competition, but there's certainly the aspect of as soon as you're done, they want you to share how you did. And as you said, the green and the red squares, and the more green squares and the fewer red squares that you have, the smarter you look and the better you feel.
I guess it's less of a competition, more of a leaderboard, but I guess.
Yeah, it's maybe semantics,
right?
But yeah, you're in a sense, maybe you're competing with yourself, but you're at the very least, you're kind of like, for me, I'm not going to share my score on something if I didn't get it usually.
Right.
Unless I'm like, maybe I will, maybe I'm like, I might do it if I didn't get it at all, or if I got it like in under 3. But if it's just like kind of an average one, it took me 4 guesses, then it's like, well, that's not interesting to discuss.
Yeah, like if I get it in one shot, like if it's the first word, I'm like, perfect, I'm amazing. Here's my score.
Yeah.
Now with Frames, we have a group text, group chat, whatever, where we like kind of share the movies, and I like doing that because like, oh, they know this movie, I know this movie, they don't, like, so you can kind of like, it's more like makes it a chat about it too, because it'd be like, oh, you saw this movie. How was this movie? Or, how do you not know this
Right.
movie? You moron, stuff like that.
Yeah. What do you chat about with Wordle? Like, oh, you didn't get that R, huh? Yeah, it was an R. You're kind of over.
Right. Where that's
Yeah, and I like
good thing. Like we can like talk, oh yeah, this was a good movie and get into the movie, or like, oh, that shot that was so ridiculous they chose that for the first scene, or some stuff like that.
right. And I wouldn't do that if we didn't have that Discord chat, because I do think there's a point where like people for a while, some people still do, they'll post them on social media, on Twitter or whatever. And at some point it's like, how many days in a row do I need to see your green squares on
well,
Twitter?
that was the other thing too. It was kind of like it was gumming up the social media for a while when it was like, oh, there's a bunch of people. Oh, it's midnight. Here come the dots.
Right. Now, do you do any of these other ones? Have you done I don't know what Connections is. I don't know what I can guess what Crossword Mini is, but
Crossword Mini I do occasionally, because like sometimes I'll do these before bed because so before I go to bed I take a melatonin, and I don't want to do anything too like strenuous or whatever as I'm waiting for this melatonin sleep aid to kick in. So it's like I'll do the small crossword puzzle because like I don't feel bad if I don't finish it, or it's small enough that I can finish it. Where like the big crossword puzzles, they can take more time to do. I don't do there's a bee, like a spelling bee game on there too. I forgot what it's called. But I do there's another app that I do that has like all the letters in a circle, and you kind of like swipe up and down to connect different letters. It's kind of like it's based like a crossword puzzle where you kind of have to fit the letters in, but you get you get 5 letters and you have to figure out different words with these 5 letters.
Like all the words that can be made up of those letters. Yeah, I know that game. Yeah, those can be fun. I do regular not regularly, but I have an app where that's what I'll use if I am just in line somewhere. I'll just do a crossword puzzle.
Yeah,
because it'll occupy my time and it's not like annoying to people.
Or like at the airport or what. Like it's a good and if somebody looks over your shoulder, they'll be like, "Oh, you're smart."
Yeah, that's what they think for sure. I probably have actually, maybe during like peak pandemic, or maybe a few other places here and there, done at least with Wordle, like simultaneous, like, oh, we're both happen to be in the same place at the same time or whatever.
Right.
Let's check into the Wordle and see
what's
how we do
on
it.
Right.
But I've never gotten so competitive to the point where if, it's for me, it's just like, I got it. This one's tough. I can't really relate to our defendant's or her boyfriend's mom in this case.
Right.
Who really had a negative reaction to it and took it almost like a challenge.
And like weird too, like in that way, because like I don't know why they would get like I don't like, even in any of these games, it's like even the one the framed is like, oh, he got it, but then another time it's like, oh, you didn't know a movie, I knew a movie, or vice versa. And it's like I don't take any of these as like a competition game.
I suppose with the movie one, it's a little more like sometimes it just boils down to, well, you either saw that movie or you didn't.
Right.
So it's not as much about intelligence as it is like trivia kind of.
Right.
Whereas a Wordle, you could argue you can't, like you said, sometimes Wordle can make you just feel dumb.
Yeah.
Because if you don't get it, like there is sort of an intellectual skill of, if you know, like being a Scrabble player, if you just know a million words really well, but I mean, even that,
like regurgitate
it's not
those
like
words and like, but
yeah, I would argue that's not really a measure of intelligence. It's probably just you've been doing this longer. You have a specific kind of mindset that,
because the X amount of letters in there, how it's going to come out. It's kind of like, it's like a chess thing, where it's like, yes, there is some strategy to it, but in the end, you could basically play the same way and basically win.
They should make like a Queen's Gambit show, but with Wordle. Don't you think?
No.
I'm not going to elaborate on that.
No,
that's all I'm going to say.
Just in case we want to make the show, we need to, So yeah, I've never and I've also, have you ever played Wordle in the same room as people? Like, oh, it's Wordle time. Let's let's see how fast we can.
I feel like maybe it has happened before. Or maybe online, like at the same time as someone else. But Not like, oh man, it's time, but more as an afterthought, like, oh, I'm doing the Wordle, and then like other people will do it too, or
because like
whoever else is
it
there.
is such a solo game. Like it's literally
Right.
meant for yourself. Like, yeah, you get times and stuff like that, but it's like it's a you game. Like it's like okay, I'm going to step away for a minute, go on my coffee break, and do this game real quick, and like just have a moment for yourself. That's why they're such short games, and you can't. The magic behind these games is you can't just play it for 8 hours at a time. Like
Right.
it comes out, you finish it X amount of time, you're done for the day. Well, I guess you can go in framed, you can go back in time and do the old ones, but
Some of them let you do that now. Yeah. Wordle can't let you do that because they have to repeat them at some point.
Right.
So, and we have had a case a ways back where we talked about someone getting mad over video games.
right.
And we discussed whether or not you should ever, hold back or not try to go so hard against someone in a video game or a board game.
Mhm.
Wordle is sort of a different kind of a beast. As you said, it's a very different kind of game. And the boyfriend accuses Pauline of kind of showing off, or like, I don't know if in this scenario,
Right.
I don't know, what is there a point? And according to Pauline, she says she didn't detect the mom getting upset.
Well, it's like also like, what are you showing off of? I can spell, or like I can use my phone quicker than you, because like, okay, it's a girlfriend versus a mom. So there is some age difference there. Maybe there's some technology issue, one can maybe type faster, one can't, like there's different things, but like, what's the competition? Like, unless she's like, oh, I got like being verbal about getting it, and like, oh, you haven't gotten it yet, like like stuff like that,
Right.
or like or that the other, what's it, Betty's the mom, is like taking so long that Pauline is like, oh, I'm gonna move on to the next game. Because at that point, I could be like, okay, maybe just like don't say anything.
Yeah,
But
which
it's
I don't
like-
know that she did. I don't
it's
know
like-
that she did.
It's not a competition. Like it's not like because a video game, you're both seeing how you're doing at the same time. It's not like you're both sharing a board. There's a first place, second place. There's not a fighting thing. It's not a racing thing. Like you're not visually seeing how the other one's doing. And it doesn't really matter because it's not like, oh, you got the word, I can't get it.
Yeah, I agree with you to an extent. I do think there is, I mean, in this case, it's just it was a one-off, one-time thing.
Right.
But I can see in some universe feeling, you could feel a little dumb if you can't get the word at all.
Right.
And someone else gets it really fast.
Right.
I can see it. It would be more so to me if that happened like every day and like you did this frequently.
Or if it's like,
Because-
let's say like a college roommate or your partner or like whatever. And
Yeah,
you're like,
anybody.
you never get, it's like, oh, well, somebody you live with, somebody you're
Like
with
they
every
always
day.
get it guest 2 and I'm always on guest 6. That
Right.
makes more sense to me than, because if it happens one time, it's like, it's just so much of Wordle can come down to just lucky guesswork.
Right.
The word was train and I guessed sprain, like,
Right, yeah.
like that. Of course I'm going to get it first. That's just how it is.
But I also feel in this story, I also see like, it's a mother-in-law versus girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever. And it's
Mhm.
like, I could see where it's like, I'm trying
Hmm.
to impress the other one, or like, oh, she should be maybe taking a step back for, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
I should be the one having sex with my son, not you. That's where you were going, right?
we might need to take a break and get you into some.
That's not
therapy,
where
bro.
you were going with that.
No. They both should be at the same time. I've seen those ads.
Yeah, on HBO Max usually they
Yep.
show those.
No, this is just Max 3X's.
Right. That's what it is. Cinemax.
Max. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's a weird one. Now the one thing that I can think of that maybe the boyfriend, maybe this mom is just hypersensitive about these things.
Right.
And maybe she's just kind of, I don't know, maybe she's having a rough week and maybe she really needed a win. And in which case, I think it's incumbent upon the boyfriend to have informed Pauline about this beforehand and kind of, or maybe sent her a text or nudged her or something.
Well, that was my thing. Like, this is real time. They're both on phones.
Right.
He could have just been like, shut up. Like send a quick text, or like something like, like.
Don't do it.
Right.
No.
She has a knife.
I'm wondering what the signs were that she's getting upset, and how obvious they were.
And also, like, is this for like other things too? Like, does she get upset with everything? Like, is Betty like a sore loser for stuff? It's like, I don't know what do moms do. My pie came out of the oven first. I don't know what moms do.
What?
No, but like, I could see this being like, like your recipe is better than mine. Like, this is where like I get like that thing coming from of like, this seems like such an old school thing of like mother-in-law versus daughter, like stuff like that. It's like, it seems like it's a sitcom story that we're talking about.
The new Jennifer Lopez romantic comedy or whatever. Now, and maybe Wordle is like her thing. Maybe she does the Wordle every day. So this is kind of, she talks about it with her friends. So she thinks, oh, I'm going to show how good I am. And like, she's smoked.
Like, or in her friend group, she's the number one Wordle player. And she's like the best out there. And this new girl comes in and just pushes her aside and takes her throne.
Yeah.
Her Wordle throne. It's made out of cubes.
Yeah. As well as connections and crosswords.
Well, that's the other thing too. It's all the games. So it's like, maybe this person, just like I was saying, maybe there's like a better spelling, quicker on the phone, but I don't think like, I wouldn't jump right to you're cheating.
That is insane.
Like,
just say that out loud.
Because like all the stuff we were saying about like, hey, maybe take it easy on her, maybe but like to just jump down and be like, I just assume she like stood up hastily. You're cheating. You've played this before.
Yeah, I think it was. It doesn't sound like she said it jokingly,
right?
And then she did leave after a minute. She
and
just
also,
kind of
like,
left the room.
You can't really play it before. Like, it's a one-time. Like, you can't go back and replay. Can you?
You could. You could do it like on a computer browser, for instance, earlier in the day, so you would know,
or just find out what the word is from somebody online.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's all those.
Look. Yeah. Maybe you could delete your cache or something. I don't know.
Right.
So like it's possible, or even, I mean, social media, you could always just
Google
alter the number of squares. You don't need to, but this is in person. The other games, I don't think so, because those were timed. So it's just, she just finished faster. So unless she's just lying and saying she's done when she's not.
And like those other games are like more, like they're older than Wordle. Like they're old school games that used to be like in the newspaper at the time, and they brought them to digital.
Yeah. How about that Sudoku?
Or like the Jumble, or whatever that thing used to be called.
The Jumble, yes. The Jumble. The classic Jumb.
Yep, the Jumb. So yeah, so like I at first I was on the fence about it because I'm like, oh, maybe she should be nicer. But it's like, she like pointed it out and like became a really sore loser. And like, I'm never a fan of that. And like, nobody should be a fan of that, because like, it's, you're making something fun, or what could potentially be fun, bad experience that will never come up again. Because if she's like, oh yeah, let's play Wordle again. If I was Pauline, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I deleted it. What?
Sounds like you're verdictating right now.
I'm getting there.
I'd just run with it. Take it home.
So, so let's get into verdict. So Pauline is the one who we're talking about right now, right? Mm-hmm. If she's guilty or not guilty of foul
going too
play.
hard in the Wordle. I like Wordle hard. I like it the Wordle hard, and I like it square and green. So, I don't really 5 long.
think. Yep, 5 long. I really don't. 5 by 6. I don't really think Pauline is doing anything. It's like a can of soda. I don't think Pauline is really doing anything wrong. She's playing the game as the game's intended to be played.
Wrong.
That
was my Donald Trump impression.
I think we got a cross line. Hello. I'm sure he can't play Wordle. That man can't spell himself out of paper, but he can't speak anyway. So I honestly don't think that Pauline did anything wrong. I think Betty did a lot wrong by overreacting because A, it's a stupid game. Betty seems like she might be the person to like flip a table in that extreme thing. Like, oh, you're cheating. Like, and like, did she say cheating? Did she?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. She said that.
You can't, like, unless you are physically going online and finding out the words, or like it was a replay of a word, which you wouldn't really know until you started playing the words. I don't think you can really cheat fully in this game. So I don't think Pauline is not guilty. She's not guilty of playing too rough. It's Wordle.
Yeah, this is a cut and dry case if we've ever had one, in my opinion. I suppose you could kind of play devil's advocate a little and say, well, it's your boyfriend's mom. Maybe you should just kind of go easy on her and like let her have the win as the good, dutiful girlfriend. And dutiful? Is that a word?
I like my girlfriends to be dutiful.
You are dutiful. No matter what they say.
Enter that into Wordle. See if it's a real word.
Dutiful? Why? It doesn't matter.
Asking the wrong person.
It doesn't matter. Duteous?
Let us know in the comments below.
But like you said, it's Wordle. It's so unserious and so unimportant. And again, maybe there's an argument to be made that she should go easy or just maybe give her one of these games as a win just to be nice. But that is not at all a justification for Betty to react the way she reacts. It's just such an extreme to get upset at all and not just laugh about it. That's big red flag kind of sign right there. And the fact that the boyfriend is like sticking up for her, like, why didn't you just not win the Wordle?
Yeah.
Nah, I think that's a deal breaker, ladies. I don't think that's going to work in the long term. That's a bad sign for this family. So yes, very much so for me. Pauline is not guilty.
And like, you're right. The whole thing of like, the boyfriend stepping in and being like, hey, maybe take it easy. Like, no, you can't. How's this?
Like I said, unless if you know your mom is a little bit crazy or competitive, then you give her that warning in advance, maybe. Like
maybe stand behind your mom's shoulders and give her like the shaking of the head and being like, no, don't, stop.
Yeah. And while you're back there, give her a little shoulder rub.
Oh.
Before she fucks you. All right. So, that's what happens after the girlfriend leaves. I just feel like that's what's going on between these two. No? All right. I'll show you on Max later with 3 X's. You're going to understand what I'm talking about. So we need to really punish Betty in this instance.
It sounds like you really want to punish Betty.
I think no sex with her son for a month is the first punishment.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, that's a start.
That's part of it. Mm-hmm. She doesn't. I think whatever the Wordle is that she's not good at. It's Wordle. But make her do video game Wordle every day for a month.
Right.
And she's got to figure that out now. And she's got to compete and feel bad about it.
Or she has to she has to leave the house every time the girlfriend comes over.
Well, the girl, I think she needs to get out of this relationship.
Oh yeah, this is 100% like you're seeing what's going. If the boyfriend's being like, "Hey, maybe don't do this. My mom's playing the game," I don't know what voice that was there, but it's a character.
No, it's good.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I don't think there's no ors in our sentencing. I think it's only ands. I think everything we say, that punishment gets dealt out to them.
There should be 6 punishments. There's 6, 5.
6 guesses, 5 letters.
Yes, right. Mm-hmm.
I can see how it's confusing, but yeah, that's
it's not a game I play every other day. It's fine. It's good.
I understand. Well, you don't know. Once it's done, it's out of your head. You don't need to think about it anymore.
Yep.
Well, those are our verdicts and our sentencing for Pauline and the rest. And now, you at home have the opportunity. You're very, very lucky to let us know what you think about this case. Have you been in a situation like this? Maybe you've been on the opposite end of the Wordle where you have felt bad and you wish somebody just went easy on you or lied about their score. Or maybe you're a dirty little fucking Wordle cheater.
Oh, hey, now.
Give us your verdicts. You can email them to us at geeksontrial@gmail.com.
I want to give you a little back rub.
I know what you mean. You can also head over to our episode description where there's a link for a form you can fill out to submit your own case for us to settle here on the show.
Yes.
Something about the geeky world of geeks, about words, knowledge, trivia, video games, movies, music. Tell us what your little arguments or issues have been in your own personal life. We'll figure it out. We're judges.
That was going to be that was what we were going to call the podcast before Geeks on Trial, the geeky world of geeks.
Oh, we'll figure it out. We're judges.
We're judges. So you can also head over if you want to help the show out, and maybe we can get another show going, which we might be doing in the future. Head on over to our Patreon. That's patreon.com/geeksontrial, and give us some of your Christmas money. The Christmas holidays are coming up, and help us out so we can support the show and actually do this for a living. Because this, by the way, guys, this is our job. This is what we do. This is who we are.
Yeah, calling it a job might be going too far, but I like it.
Well,
just shave a few bucks off a gift for somebody you don't like and give it to us instead.
Is that saying?
Yeah, just shave a few bucks off.
Huh. I haven't dealt with money in a long time.
Yeah. Well, there's some other places on the internet where you can shave a few bucks off. What's that mean? Up to you to decide. Now, Ivan,
where can
people follow you?
Oh,
no, my friend. It's you
I'm
first.
Going first. Okay. You can find me over at the Snack Guy. I'm doing right now, maybe out right now. I'm not sure of when things are coming out. I reviewed Fruitcake over at the Snack Guy. The snackguy.com. Nope. That's youtube.com/the Snack Guy. And I reviewed Fruitcake. And before that, I reviewed Hanukkah Gelt.
Fruitcake doesn't have a great reputation.
That's why I did it. It's funny.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever eaten fruitcake, to be perfectly honest with you.
You don't need to.
All right. Yeah. Well, people will see exactly how that turns out for you.
And where can people find you? Maybe trying fruitcake for the first time.
Well, I'll be trying fruitcake for the first time in my private life, but maybe I'll post about it on Blue Sky at Jonathan Estes. Or go to my website, jonathanestes.com. I've got a newsletter, end of year stuff coming up soon, right? I'll be doing my favorite movies of the year and everything. So you can find all that stuff out there by following moi.
That's actually my my other favorite social media. It's for all blues music. It's called Blues Guy.
Okay. If you want to... I guess that's it. I guess
nothing
it's over.
Else. That was the end of it. That was the end of my career there.
Had to be over right there. Thanks for watching or listening, everyone. We love you very, very much. I guess at this point, we're not 100% sure if there's going to be a brand new episode next week or not, but there'll be something in your feed one way or another. You'll have to
some kind of video or audio in your feed. Oh yeah, we're an audio show if you're listening or watching. And we're an audio, but we can find us on YouTube and all the podcast platforms you want, also on TikTok.
Yep. Great places to find us, but stay tuned because we will have more coming up, and it's almost time for the new year. So happy holidays or whatever the hell else. My name is Jonathan Estes.
I'm Ivan Hahn, and this has been Geeks on Trial.